Hi, everyone, and welcome. It's great to have everyone here. My name is Rohan Whitehead, and I'm a data training specialist at the Institute of Analytics. And today we're just going to be talking about something that's really crucial for graduates, pretty much every graduate or anyone who is looking to upskill in the workplace, and that is data skills and digital skills and their importance. So this webinar isn't only for like data science or business analytics graduates or people with already skill sets in data, but it's for anyone looking to upskill and kind of stay above the pace, the very rapidly moving pace of innovation in the workplace. In the past year, we've had a lot of generative AI, a lot of booming data tools, and their integrations into workplaces are now becoming more and more distinct. For example, in journalism, I know journalists are very often now using generative AI for drafting emails, for fact checking, for reaching out for interviews, and for drafting interview questions and schedules. In sports analysis and logistics, data skills are everywhere. This isn't going to be some kind of spreadsheet heavy talk, let me reassure you. This is much more broad. Data and digital capability is a lot broader than a lot of people think it is. And frankly, it's more career creative and career flexible than many students are told. I can confidently say that knowing how data works opens loads of doors. You can pretty much enter every career sector if you have skills in data and a certain level of domain knowledge of that sector. As companies grow and populations grow, there are more and more nodes and different points of data that companies can leverage and companies need to leverage to be able to scale efficiently. And with these increasing nodes and data, companies have much more data to sort, to manage, and to optimize so that their data processes flow efficiently. And knowing how to leverage this data, even theoretically through visualizations or even just through communication and ethical awareness, can boost you heavily when you're getting your first job or upskilling in the labor market. Over the next 30 or so minutes, maybe a bit less, we'll look at pretty much why data skills are now more valuable than ever, how they're shaping graduate recruitment, and how you can get ahead and stay ahead, whatever your degree or educational background is. There will be time for Q&As at the end of the session. So if you have any questions, please keep them in your mind and ask them to me at the end. So, according to a 2024 CIPD report, 70% of UK employers say that data literacy, being able to understand, interpret, and apply data, is now essential in graduate roles. That's not just finance or engineering, but in also marketing, HR, logistics, even sustainability, even policy, and even like arts, theatre, music. These are all sectors that data literacy is becoming increasingly important. I know this is a statistic just for the UK, but rest assured, this is generalizable amongst all countries in the world. Data is becoming very important everywhere as innovation and democratization of educational resources around data are improving and becoming more common. A PricewaterhouseCoopers 2023 survey, so even 2 years ago from now, found that 90% of business leaders were already increasing their plans for investment in digital tools and systems and becoming ahead of innovation and ahead of technological innovation, essentially. This means more software, more dashboards, more automation, and more data skills needed to keep on top of scalability and on top of all of the processes that they are investing in. When they say investing in data and investing in data tools, a lot of the time that does mean investing in data skills and in the workforce. You may, if you look at the news recently, you may see experts in generative AI and experts in AI being poached to Google and to Amazon for amounts of money that are like staggering, that are much more than people pay for even footballers. I think it was a couple of weeks ago that OpenMinds, a large generative AI company, poached someone from Google for over $200 million as a signing bonus. companies are heavily investing in skills at the top level and even at the lower level. All they care about is potential and staying ahead of the innovation curve and being able to scale with innovation. That may be not all they care about, but it's really a lot of what they care about. Of course, if we talk about small to medium-sized enterprises, they care about slightly different things. They care more about transformation, getting someone with the base core foundational skills that they can leverage to really start growing their company. Every job, whether it says data analyst, whether it says data engineer, or whether it doesn't have data in the title at all, is really a bit of a data job in disguise. Every process can be transformed and improved by automation and by understanding the data and the characteristics behind it. Of course, there are some roles that are involve a lot more creativity, maybe a lot less data, but they will still be part of that role that can be optimized by an understanding of data and the skills and digital skills that go behind it. If you're a teacher, you may be using digital tools to track student outcomes, for example. If you're in communications or PR, you may be looking at social media analysis or social media metrics, or even sentiment analysis amongst all of the internet to understand engagement and how consumers feel about your product or service. And if you're in HR, you could be analyzing turnover, analyzing KPIs, well-being trends, and applications flows if you're in hiring. So the goal today is really just to help you understand that data is not a technical barrier, but it's a set of career skills that make you more flexible and more employable and more valuable across any graduate pathway. So let's just start by challenging one of the most common myths around data skills, that they are only relevant to jobs in the tech sector. I hope I have already dispelled these myths in the past few minutes, but I work with loads of people, and whether they think that they either have to apply to Google, Amazon, or another tech or consultancy firm to make use of data skills. And I can say hand on heart, this is completely untrue. You can make use of data skills pretty much anywhere you go. And even in some areas where in some small to mid-sized enterprise that maybe aren't tech or aren't in tech, they will still be looking to shift their processes into a more innovative, future-proof method and pipeline. And that's where you'll be able to leverage your data skills really well with a lot less competition. Data is not confined to tech teams or an analyst roles. It's become pretty much part of the day-to-day fabric of every profession. For example, in healthcare, data and AI has become a big deal. Data can now help forecast patient diagnosis and outcomes and plan rotas and flag high risk individual developments. A nurse manager might be able to interpret data dashboards and inform on shift planning, as well as kind of find an early diagnosis of, say, an early tumor in the body. AI has become very proficient at holding people's hand and working hand in hand with human expertise to reinforce early diagnosis of severe issues. And this can literally save lives. In retail, data is driving stock decisions, tracking customer behavior, and testing whether promotions are working. In finance, we'll say like that a quantitative team may use advanced models, but also frontline teams are expected to interpret client risk reports and product performance reviews in data terms. And in creative industries like journalism and PR, data is being used to identify audience trends, optimize headlines, and measure engagement in real time. We'll go a bit more onto how different sectors and different roles use data a bit later, but this is just to give you a broad overview of how every sector needs data skills. We're seeing demand across the board because at its heart, data literacy is about making better decisions with the information that you are given. That's why you'll see data and digital skills on more job specifications. A lot of skills, a lot of jobs that maybe don't seem like they have relevance to data may start asking for understanding some SQL, understanding some Python, have it being able to communicate clearly about data. Um, Even when the job title doesn't say data or digital at all. And we're talking about being data fluent. We're not talking about becoming a data scientist. There's a big difference. You're not trying to compete with people in OpenAI and really be the best at every single data process tool and library in Python and every other language. You're just trying to understand data and be employable in the sense that you can leverage your data knowledge to help businesses. There's a big difference between fluency and becoming a data scientist or being prepared for a specific role, such as data engineer or machine learning engineer. Of course, there's no downside to preparing for a specific role, but this isn't really what I'm talking about right now. So when we talk about data and digital skills, it can be easily this is kind of a repeat of the last slide, just to be more succinct about the different sectors that get affected by data, really just to drill home how data affects every single sector. Um, for example, logistics companies like UPS and Amazon use data to plan delivery routes in real time, which reduces fuel costs, improve delivery times, and minimizes environmental impacts. In marketing, as I've said, data is used to track how campaigns are performed, what customers respond to, and what your content is worth. And this doesn't always need to be through manual tools such as Excel. We can use Google Analytics and AI-powered dashboards and Power BI and Tableau to also track and visualize these changes. These are all exceptionally easy tools to learn, but very high value when implemented. I've already talked about healthcare, but the list really does go on, whether it's a football club analyzing match day performance or a local council tracking road maintenance. Data is at the heart of every sector. And skills are transferable. All of these skills are transferable that you learn with data, whether it be communication, whether it be understanding dashboards, whether it be analyzing certain domain knowledge and transforming them into a quantifiable kind of visualization. These skills will all be transferable between sectors. So if you learn something in the context of sports analysis, but you're learning data and digital skills alongside, you're not going to suddenly lose all that knowledge when you stop working in that sector. So let's just talk about making yourself employable. It's not enough just to have data and digital skills. You need to be able to show them. And for many graduates, that's kind of the most difficult step. When you've just graduated, you've learned a lot, but you don't actually have a lot to show people. You don't have a lot on your CV, and it's really hard to prove to employers that you can do data science and do data analytics without just simply telling them, oh, I got a first or I got a 2-1 in my degree. And furthermore, because you've not been employed yet for most of the time, a lot of graduates lack grounded confidence in their data skills because they've not done enough projects. They've not proved to themselves, let alone other people, that they can succeed as a data analyst. So this is really a big hurdle and a big building block to kind of get over for most people who have just graduated and are looking for a job. This is exactly why kind of the Institute of Analytics exists. We help provide a clear and practical kind of pathway for early career professionals all the way into late career for students and professionals to develop and track and present their skills with confidence. But the first step is always about learning. You need to learn to build your confidence and to continuously build your skills. And this is an expectation of anyone who is trying to be data literate or their work has a heavy emphasis on data skills. It's a very competitive market out there. People are constantly upskilling and trying to have the biggest business impact possible. But learning does not mean going back to university or spending months on a course. At the IOA, we have our partners in DataCamp and DataQuest, and if you have our membership, we recommend and build tracks and point you in the direction of short, high-quality courses with industry-recognized certifications where you can build core technical skills, Excel, SQL, Power BI skills, and even communications and AI strategy skills. Beyond that, on our website, we have a lot of content on governance, on visualizations, on communication, and even a little bit on leadership and how you should progress through your career. That's kind of where most people kind of stop. They learn stuff and they continually learn new skills. And it's really great that they build the confidence there, but then you need to be able to stand out. Employers cannot read your mind and see how much you know if you don't show it. Employers want more than just a course certificate. It's great that you have it and it's great that you have proof that you've completed a course, but it needs to be accompanied by what that course gave you, the skills that you learnt on it. They want to understand how you think, they want to understand how you problem solve and how you communicate. The IOA's new portfolio platform is very new. We've just added it to our site. It's designed specifically for this. It kind of allows you to bring together all of your experience, all of your learning, all of your reflections, and all of your business impact in the past and present them on a portfolio all in one place. And it's aligned to our analytics framework, which is industry recognized as kind of able to prove people's analytics skills. It's a very succinct place where you can put everything that you've done and show to employers, these are my skills, this is my proof, I've uploaded it all here. You can show your projects, even if they're small or even if they're still in progress. Whether it's a university assignment or a mini case study, or you've just gone onto Kaggle, you've looked at some data, or you've seen some data somewhere else and you really want to do some exploratory analysis, you want to do some data storytelling, maybe you just want to do a little bit of journalism, or it's just a subject you really care about, like in the environment or maybe even gaming, and you've written a blog on that and using a bit of data, you should show those projects on your portfolio and online. These are the most important things that employers need to see and will make you stand out from the rest. On DataCamp, you can do various projects and add that to your portfolio as well. So instead of listing your tools on your CV and on your portfolio, like just hoping they'll make you stand out, you should include a link to your portfolio and invite hiring managers to see how you think and how you work. You don't want to just build a portfolio and then leave it to chance whether anyone will see it. Of course, you want to sell yourself, you want to sell your skills. If you've done a great master's or a great undergraduate course, then you've done continuous learning and you've built projects. That needs to come to some value. You cannot just sit back and hope value comes of it. You need to sell yourself and make sure that you are visually accessible and your skills are accessible to employers in the best possible locations. So I talk about core capabilities, and we do need to cover what this actually means. When employers look at early career applicants, they know that you don't have years of experience. I know a lot of jobs for entry-level jobs will say 5 years of experience. A lot of the time, the person who gets that job has a lot less experience than that, but they understand what is needed and what is expected of them in the workforce. What most employers are really looking for, especially for entry-level jobs and early career jobs, is potential. And potential is best shown through how you approach problems and not just whether you can solve them. Curiosity, for instance, is a huge strength. It's this curiosity that will get you to do continuous learning and do hours of learning on something you care about or a problem that your company needs to fix. Are you the kind of person who wants to understand how things work, who notices patterns, and who asks the right thoughtful questions? That is all skills you need when you're working with data and becoming data literate. That kind of thinking is incredibly useful, especially in analytics roles. And it kind of goes without saying, you need to be able to understand the data. You need to be able to look at a spreadsheet or a chart and tell a story of what it's trying to show and ask the right questions about what needs to be done with that data. This is like critical thinking more than anything else. And this critical thinking matters a lot. Employers will be able to spot very easily if you make poor assumptions or misleading claims based off data. So you need to upskill yourself in how you understand data as well as how you work with it. Working with data, for the most part, at the entry level, comes down to creating visualizations and after you sort and process data. But of course, you don't need to be a designer, you don't need to be some artistic genius. You just need to be able to create clear, readable visualizations, maybe with Power BI, maybe with Excel, maybe even with a non-data tool such as Canva. But you need to be able to explain them and tell a story about the visualization that you are creating. It's less about the software that you use and more about the clarity of your message and how useful and actionable it is. In the same kind of vein, you need the ability to explain what data means in plain English or plain language. And this ability is incredibly powerful. We often get data professionals, especially in the past, who are very good at technical analysis, but terrible at actually explaining, teaching, and helping other people understand what the technical analysis is actually leading to. If your CEO or if your CFO or if anyone above you is asking for your insights and you understand it yourself, but are unable to explain the insights to who needs it, then you are useless in the workplace. You need to have strong analysis skills, strong data skills, and strong communication skills, all hand in hand to be successful and employable in the workplace. I mentioned this briefly in the past, but employers also value confidence, and confidence really shows. If you've proven your skills, you will be confident. If you've done a lot of learning and have loads of certifications, you will be more confident in yourself. It's okay to say, I am comfortable working in Excel to grow confidence like working with the Excel to grow confidence in using SQL. You need to be honest about where you are. If you need to take small steps to improve and you maybe feel a bit behind the curve, having honesty with yourself and self-awareness of what you need to do will lead to building confidence in proper ways. People who try to learn too fast, skip tests, skip steps, maybe don't fully learn SQL before moving on to like more complex data engineering. These are people who will always know that they don't have full confidence in their ability and know that there may be a bottleneck down the line. So always be fully self-aware of where you are in your learning journey and what you need to do to improve. So growing at a steady rate is much more impressive than pretending to be an expert in your early career. People care about potential a lot more than where you currently are right now. And it goes without saying, I need to mention ethical awareness. This is coming up a lot more now as data is becoming a lot more democratized and more people are having data skills. There's loads of platforms to learn data skills on Python, SQL, R, etc. Not many platforms actually cover the data ethics, the AI ethics, the regulations, and the governance behind this data. A lot of you will have heard of GDPR. This is the most common kind of form of data regulation, especially in Europe. But there are loads of regulations worldwide that will affect how you can use data, even niche stuff such as the Colorado AI Act, which technically only affects Colorado, but also affects all data coming in and out of Colorado, which, as you can imagine, is actually a lot of data, and companies need to change their processes to keep that in mind. You need to be aware of happenings in the AI world. For example, nearly in Trump's new bill in America, there was an act that was going to say AI cannot be regulated in America for the next 10 years. Luckily, that got taken out at the very last minute. But if that had passed, that would have changed the AI landscape hugely and would have been a great talking point and something for you to know about when it comes to talking about data and impressing employers. If you're kind of unsure how to keep up with this stuff, most of the time we have weekly blogs on the IOA website that covers a lot of this kind of stuff. We also have webinars on this, we have recordings on this, and we do have our own content on AI and ethics and regulation. You also need to know, and I think I'm going to probably skip the next couple slides or go very fast because they take quite long, but you need to have a well-rounded understanding of how data can transform businesses. And this is especially for small to medium-sized enterprises. But for example, in the UK, 99% of existing companies are technically classified as a small to medium-sized enterprise. And these enterprises really need to know how to transform their processes to become data ready and innovation led. So in the next couple of slides, I'm just going to show you how data helps processes. I recommend taking a screenshot of these. There's a lot of information, a lot of examples. So it'll take too long for me to go through every single one, but I'll go through very briefly some examples. So this is essentially just how data optimizes business functions. A cool one that comes up in my life a lot is in the past, I would used to buy and sell a lot of things on eBay, and I would see how eBay uses different testing features to prioritize features in their bidding system. They would do a lot of A/B testing. They would change their website and optimize their websites pretty much every day based on the data and the feedback of users to make it so that there are more sales, so sales are easier to do and the platform is easier to use. We often see the same thing in Instagram and on Facebook. They use sentiment analysis directly after they release a new update. A lot of the time, there's terrible sentiment about that update, and they will roll it back very fast. This happens with Instagram a lot when they change how things look, when they change how you message people. A lot of the times, they see immediate negative data in the sentiment analysis models and roll back those updates. Obviously, we need to understand customer needs. Netflix does this really well, so does Spotify, or pretty much anywhere that generates a playlist for you. Spotify is probably the best. They are really good at recommending new songs that have similarities or characteristics and nodes that are similar to songs that you really enjoy or seem to really enjoy. It goes without saying we need to make data-driven decisions in business. This can just be like predictive analytics. It can be tracking KPIs. For example, Uber tracks the KPIs of its drivers by using dashboards and analytics. Or like in retail, we can predict when peak hours will be and where to put our products. There's also stuff like performance monitoring. This is much more real-time data analytics. A great example that may be relevant in the next 10 years is with autopilot systems and self-driving cars. We need real-time analytics and really fast, succinct analytics to know when there's an engine failure, when a part stops working, so we can implement emergency measures. The same happens for plain autopilots. We need to have a real-time analytics 24/7 so we can know when there's an issue and we can patch it out very quickly. AI does enable cross-team collaboration, not really by itself, but by its integration into different tools. A lot of you may use, say, like Asana or Notion, or many other team planning and team communications tools. These are increasingly now becoming powered by AI and really helps track project dependencies, timelines, and automate road mapping of different projects. And then finally, and this is the more flashy one, but like AI and data is used heavily to enable automation of processes that are tiresome and don't leverage your core key skill sets. But it can also automate the democratization of data and data visualization creation. And this is something I talk about a lot. I've written a few blogs on it, and I've even done a separate webinar on this. And it's Spotify and how they create Spotify Wrapped at the end of the year. And this is a really cool way that they kind of stayed ahead of the curve by democratizing and sharing everyone's data about what songs they listen to. Normally, like data is a bit of a black box that companies like to keep and not actually share with their customer base. But Spotify shares each user their own data in a really cool, shareable visual format that really builds brand trust and also is great for marketing, as these Spotify Wrapped visualizations often make their way onto Instagram, make their way onto social media, as people are sharing how many hours they listen to their favorite artist, etc., etc. So data can be really used and automation can be really used in a very innovative way to stay ahead of the curve and to scale your marketing efficiently, etc., etc. So the mindset that employers are looking for, this is just the final slide pretty much. It's not really enough to just have the data skills. You need to be able to show them. And obviously this is a difficult step. But this is kind of just summarizing what we've talked about in the past. You do need to show curiosity and willingness. If you're in an interview, show that you care. If you don't know something, try and think out loud and show your thought processes. The way you think about problems when you don't know the answer is really telling for employees. So you need to put yourself in the best position for problem solving out loud. If you don't know something, the worst thing you can say is, I don't know. You need to think and try and find the answer to your problem. Keep a clear record of what you learn. People who are already working in companies, they're often told, and it's a thing that I don't do as much as I should, and loads of other people don't do as much as they should, is you should keep track of everything you've done so you can put it on your LinkedIn and show employers what you've done, the projects you've worked on, the results that came out, how it increased your company's efficiency in quantitative ways. You need to be able to keep track in the same manner what you learn, what have you learned, what certifications have you got, what skills do you have, so you can list this on your CV, so you can add this to your portfolio. It is about showing the skills, but also knowing what you've learned is very important because it helps you plan your learning and continuous development journey into the future. And of course, showing how you apply your knowledge to real world questions and using the IOA portfolio. I cannot stress enough how important it is to use a portfolio to really have one big place to put all of your tools, experience, projects, and kind of map it along a framework that's industry accepted. It is a great way to succinctly show employers that you are employable for the position that they're asking you to fill. So I do highly recommend exploring that. If you take the QR code, you'll go to our website and you will find the portfolio page there if you have membership. And also networking, communication, and building your confidence and growth in yourself is also extremely important. A lot of people get a job in data science or get a data job or a job working with tech in some way, shape, or form, and they just stay in their silo. They work on themselves. But to work on yourselves and to really progress, you do need connections. You need to learn from other people, you need to network, and you need to grow as a community. Data and data roles, although they're everywhere, it is still a fairly new profession, big picture wise. And as the innovation kind of moves, we need to be able to move with it. And one of the best ways to learn when you're in a position or in a role is learning from other people or learning from your peers. So you can join the IOA community or you can get involved in LinkedIn or any other way. Joining communities really helps you start your journey and really surrounds you with the right people to progress to the top. So pretty much this is the end of this webinar. I hope it's been useful. And I believe, yeah, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask.
Rohan, thank you so much for this. We've got a couple of questions in the chat for you. I'm going to take my video off. Sir, I like this. I like this approach from Yash. What are the job opportunities? I've got some ideas on that. Rohan, did you want to start?
Yeah. I mean, I have a fairly helpful but unhelpful answer, which is it's pretty much anything you want to do. It depends really what you're talking about. For more data heavy roles, then we'd be looking at being a data analyst or a business analyst. These are the two most common entry-level jobs on the market. But if you just want to be data literate, have some data skills, maybe you're learning a little bit of SQL and you want to leverage that in a position, virtually anything you want to be, you will have an advantage in with your data skills. Do you have anything to add to that, Claire?
I would absolutely agree with that. So we were shocked actually last year, not this year, when a study of 16,000 graduate recruiters were asked, what skills are you looking for? 100% said they were looking for data skills across all subjects. So basically, if you have not nurtured, if you have not looked after your data skills, whatever job you're going for, you're at the bottom of the queue in terms of who they're looking for and who they want to recruit. It is no longer optional. Something has changed dramatically in the last couple of years. If you have any data skills at all that you can highlight on your curriculum, it's going to give you an advantage whatever job you want to do. Now then, if you get into that job and you love the data, then there are all sorts of opportunities and places you can go to. But this is a minimum. It's like saying you have to have a degree. You have to have data skills, full stop. Yeah. We have another question, Rohan. How can I use IOA learnings to deploy into my career aspiration? I think you covered this a little anyway, didn't you, Rohan? Yeah. Does it provide certifications? How is it recognized across industries?
So when it comes to, say, let's talk about IOA certifications, which is a partnership we have, and you'll have access to pretty much all of the IOA certifications through DataCamp certifications through IOA membership. This is just an example of learnings that we offer. They are industry recognized in the sense that many times they are succinct, in-depth proof with examination and assessment at the end that you have a full knowledge of whatever the certification is in. It is much more efficient to learn on DataCamp if you are a graduate or if you're employed than taking an additional degree and really investing heavily an entire year or few years. And it's just what you do with the certification and how you sell it for yourself that will make the big difference. A lot of people get a certification and kind of sit on it. Maybe they do one LinkedIn post and then they sit on it. They don't use it to sell their own persona and sell their employability much. And so they feel like it's not that valuable. But when you have a collection of certifications, all of which have had assessment to achieve them, you add them to a portfolio, and you really want to essentially have a group of a knowledge bank that you can show, that you can apply with skills, then it's really useful to get a job and will make you stand out from your competition. And that's pretty much all that matters, standing out from the other people you're competing against when applying for positions.
Rohan, would it be helpful if I quickly show the portfolio?
Yeah, if you have that up and ready,
let me see if I can.
I'll share the positions. Do I have to share with?
I think I've managed to
your
point myself, I think. Is that yeah. Okay, so if you are already an IOA member, and I know lots of you on here are already an IOA member, this is your membership platform. And you might notice we've got this new button up here. This is your portfolio. I need to fill mine in, I confess. So what this is the place where you write up your skills and your accomplishments. I should be using the sample one, not my own. Here we have the skills across the table that we know that employers are looking for. Knowledge and analytics, this is going to be data. Can you manipulate the data in Excel? Governance, do you know the rules? Do you know the basics? Do you know the general questions to ask? Do you know what a clean data set looks like? Communication, can you describe a problem in data terms? Can you manipulate data in a table or a data set? Leadership, can you take instruction really well for a problem? And what you can do here is when you find a skill that you think you can show, add your proof, write up what your accomplishment is, say what the relationship to the learning objective is, add your certificates, add a report from your university lecturer, save it, and then you can actually make this profile public, and you can share that with your employers. And this is what's been getting lots of excitement going, because applying by CV has become a little bit challenging, quite honestly, with the amount of spamming going on, the amount of all of those things. We've had massive support for this. Rohan, can you just, there's a question about what DataCamp and DataQuest benefits you get with IOA.
So from DataCamp and DataQuest, firstly, I'll just run through the different distinctions because a lot of our members really don't know what the difference is between DataCamp and DataQuest. They're both learning platforms. However, DataQuest is much more for in-depth, longer courses that will give you a um, overarching and fuller understanding of a subject. Whereas DataCamp is for professionals who maybe have a bit less time and want to do quick learnings in specific subjects that can build up to certifications and to big courses over time. But most of the time, what you are getting from this is knowledge and an ability to continuously learn at your own pace at a very, very reduced price through IOA membership. It's kind of the best place you can go to learn in your own pace. It requires no downloads, and you do all coding on their website in their virtual coding environments. As I've mentioned, you get certificates of completion and certificates of assessment on DataCamp and DataQuest, but you can also take part in their competitions, their challenges, watch their webinars, as well as take part in pretty much a community of people who are continuously learning and upskilling. About 10 to 15 years ago, this is kind of what Stack Overflow was when it started, a bit like Reddit coding when it started. This is kind of the new thing with people all using learning resources for data and learning together as a community. And it's a really beneficial way to put yourself in a good position to motivate yourself to improve and really improve at a good pace.
And also, I know lots of you hate coding. We have plenty of point and click tool training in there. You don't have to code. I know you hate it. That's fine. You don't have to use it. I think very much what Rohan is talking about here is the difference between a data analyst who does all the work and a data consumer who looks at the charts, reads them, understands them, makes decisions. We often talk about decision intelligence specialists, that you're simply able to bring in all your knowledge of marketing, human resources, whatever you bring, plus the data skills to be able to understand machine intelligence, which has another perspective that's really useful. And if, like me, you start loving it, you go a bit crazy and you turn it into your career, but you don't have to. You can stop wherever you want. And our associate membership status comes with post-nominals, and it just shows any employer can trust you to make decisions with data, to ask the right questions with data, to use AI responsibly and effectively. So, you know, it's a really great goal to go for. And I think, like Rohan has said, you don't have to go all in. You decide the end point. Finance. Can finance, is it good? Finance and data analytics, Rohan. You've just been looking at this.
Yeah, it's very good. There's a lot of crossover.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways you can leverage data skills and even just the understanding of data skills and processes in finance. There's a lot of ways that we've just released a few courses on finance and accountancy and how it's kind of integrated with data. There's a lot of scope for getting ahead of people, especially there's a lot of people in finance who kind of refuse to learn data and are maybe a bit slow in the innovation curve. Getting ahead now is really great. It puts you at such an advantage compared to people doing slow manual processes, say in Excel. And I'm not saying Excel is bad. Even fully learning and understanding how to automate processes in Excel puts you at a huge advantage. In the end, in finance, time and efficiency really is just kind of everything. If you can optimize your efficiency and really understand what you're doing and put yourself in a position to maybe learn more data skills and really rise up the ranks fast, of course, that's going to be beneficial to you.
I always say, or I always used to say, it's like in the 1990s when communications went digital. If you decided then, oh, you know, I don't want to do all this emailing stuff and all these conference calling things, it's not for me. Communications is so central to how we work. It was never optional. Today, it's decision making is going digital through all of this data. Opting out is just, it's not on the table for you in your future, especially if you're young. It is not happening for you. You are going to have to do this sooner or later. Start today. Make your life easier. Right, I think we've got to the end of the questions. Rohan, do you have the final slide? Now,
Yes, I'll get it back up.
we do bring these webinars to you as part of our general outreach to improve the whole world of data and digital. We're very keen to support everybody, and on our IOA website, we have a lot of free content that you can go and have a look at, and some free training. But for our members, we do have a special relationship, and we are able to offer you that little bit more, things like support with your portfolio, really structured career guidance in this whole new world we are moving into these days. Even I'm shocked at how fast it's changing, and I'm used to change in the field I work in. Please do visit our website. Student membership is, it starts at a very reasonable rate. I think it's less than £10 a month. And that gets you access to all of the training and all of the features that we've mentioned, and a whole lot more. So if you feel you would like to join us as a member, there is that little bit more that we can do with you. And we've got the QR code up on the screen now. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us. Rohan, thank you for an insightful session.
Thank you for joining. Yeah.
And I think our next, if you are interested in the portfolio, we do have a webinar coming up on the 30th that I'm delivering. I'm hoping it's the 30th. Well, I'll be talking you through exactly what you can do to set up that portfolio, and how it helps, and why suddenly it's become essential. We were trending last week in Apple News in the top 10 with an article about the collapse of sending off your CV and what you can do about it. So we'll be talking about that, and what your response to that can be. So do sign up for that webinar and join us. Rohan, thank you so much, and we will see you again soon, I'm sure. Thank you for joining us.
Yep, thank you for joining, everyone.